Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Monty. And welcome to day 8 of our 14-day practice. And Monty's going to lead us off with the 5 remembrances.
Okay, so I'm just going to sound the bell and then I'll recite the 5 remembrances. I am subject to aging. There is no way to avoid aging. I am subject to ill health. There is no way to avoid illness. I am going to die. There is no way to avoid death. Everyone and everything that I love will change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My only true possessions are my actions. I cannot escape their consequences. All right, Alan, it's all you.
Thank you. So again, welcome everybody to day 8. And so this actually ends the Noble Eightfold Path for us as far as all the steps. This is going to be right concentration, or specifically right meditative concentration. So the scripture for today is, with no concentration, there is no wisdom. With no wisdom, there is no concentration. But with concentration and wisdom, one will come near nirvana. So when we're talking about right concentration or right meditative concentration, we're talking about this deep meditative concentration, which is called samadhi. And so this day is actually not a day by itself, or this step is not a step by itself. It's actually supported by the rest of the Noble Eightfold Paths. So it's just not like you just, well, I'm just going to go meditate and I'll become awakened and enlightened. It's supported by the rest of the Noble Eightfold Path as well. But we're doing, you know, this right concentration for a purpose. It's there to help us to, remove delusion, to achieve awakening. So specifically, it's allowing us to, settle our mind of distractions, which it's very, very common, especially, during the pandemic, but just, during any time as well. There's so many things that, come into our minds that arise and fall, but where we're constantly distracted by things, feelings, everything. I always use that example of, like, the three fires. You got all these attachments, you got fire everywhere, right? So we're always being distracted. So it's allowing us to settle our mind distractions. That leads us from ignorance, which is really important as well. We want to be able to, stop ignorance, because ignorance is really, holding us back on all of this. That allows us to clarify the mind. We're able to, understand how the mind works. We're able to, be able to have this insight. So therefore, like a vipassana meditation. So vipassana is, the result of this deep meditative concentration. So it's that insight into what things really are. That allows us to attain peace. So eventually we can get to nirvana. We can, be awakened. And so we do this because, the Buddha did it. Like the Buddha, was awakened, under the Bodhi tree. And so he did it through deep meditative concentration as well. So there's a reason we actually have this on the Noble Eightfold Path, because that allows us to do what he did, and that's achieve awakening. So what we're experiencing right now, during the pandemic, right concentration is probably more important than ever, I think. So whether it's a recent, lockdown that you're having or just experiences that you're having, this is really important. And it can be part of your daily practice, like we're doing for these 14 days. We're doing meditation at the end. That's really important, but don't stop, just with our one session. If you have like an evening session, or you have another time where you can actually do some meditative concentration, that's great. And it doesn't really have to be just specifically, sitting meditation. Like Buddhists, from different traditions have different ways of doing it. Like Thich Nhat Hanh, he's, Zen Buddhism basically. So he does sitting meditation, but he promotes, walking meditation. And think about that. A lot of times when you walk, you're not really mindful, of what you're actually, when you're actually walking. But if you can actually do that as a form of meditative concentration. And then there's also certain traditions that actually do chanting, as their meditative concentration. And so, like advanced practitioners, for example, like in Pure Land, when you're reciting the name of Amida Buddha, they're actually chanting and focusing, meditative concentrating on a Buddha, which is the embodiment, of like all the qualities, all the the century teachings and everything that we're trying to achieve as well. So it's just not really like a devotional thing, but it's also a form of meditative concentration that you can also achieve that way. So there's different ways of actually doing this. Of course, the very traditional way is sitting meditation. So I would, recommend for everybody what we're doing during these sessions where we're actually having meditation is great, but don't stop with us. Don't stop after the 14 days, keep it going. If you need to do another session, like in the evening or something, yeah, do that also. Monty, I bet you have some things you want to probably add to this one too.
Yeah, so as I was saying the other day, Sama Samadhi means a wholesome state of mind, or a harmonious, even harmonious state of mind, we can say. The mind is no longer perturbed. The mind is tranquil. The mind is in a state of equilibrium, or we can even say um, peaceful. The mind is basically free, according to the Buddha. In this stage, the mind is free from unwholesome states, right? It's equanimous. So the basic description that the Buddha gives in order to recognize that you're in this level of samadhi is that there's no sensual desires. And when you reach this level of meditation, that means you're not thinking about, Starbucks and In-N-Out and the next movie you're going to want to watch and stuff like that, right? Sensual means sensory desire through your senses. So those things don't come up. There is no hatred or ill will, right? So there's no aversion, there's no anger, no hatred, no cruel thoughts. All of those violent, aggressive thoughts and states of mind are also not present. Also, there's no sloth or torpor. So this is not to say that if you're tired, then you're not in samadhi. We're talking about is a sluggish mind. The mind is no longer sluggish. It's not a lazy mind. That has been overcome. Then the next thing that has to be overcome is, or the absence of, to recognize the absence of it, of uh, anxiety and worry. So in this level, there's no did I leave my keys in the right place? Did I lock the door? Did I leave the candle on? Or why did my cousin tell me that, at my 15th birthday? Like, that's gone. You're not thinking like that. Or, am I gonna get to work on time? Or what's gonna happen tomorrow? And all that kind of rumination disappears. And the final thing that's gone is confusion. Confusion here means confusion over the practice. So I know many times when we're sitting in meditation, we're like, 5 minutes is good enough. I should just get up. No, I said 10 minutes. No. Five. Well, five is better than nothing. I kind of did my job today. That's gone, right? Or is this really working? I don't know if it's working. Am I wasting my time? Am I doing it right? Let me read the meditation manual again. Um, So that confusion is also gone. So we know we're in a state of samadhi when the absence of sensual pleasure, the absence of aversion, the absence of sloth and torpor, the absence of anxiety and worry, and the absence of confusion. So when all these unwholesome states of mind are not absent, then we're in samadhi. Then to get into sama samadhi, here the Buddha talks about jhana or dhyana, which is a usually translated as like an absorption. Because what's happening here is that we're retreating the mind from the external stimulus and we're focusing it within. So the mind becomes unified. Actually, that's one of the factors in Pali. It's called ekagata. Eka is one. Gata is like a state, one state, one pointedness. Sometimes they even say. So the mind is completely focused within. The mind is no longer jumping from thought to thought. It's just focused on its object of meditation. The mind is content. The body is pleasant or comfortable. And all doubt is gone, and the mind is in a state of equanimity. So if you have these factors in the mind with the absence of the previous 5 unwholesome factors or 5 hindrances, then you know you're in this stage of sama samadhi. But although we may not have yet reached or able to maintain this deep state of meditation, uh, these factors are present in our everyday lives, actually. There are moments where 1 or 2 of these might pop up. There are moments where there's contentment, the mind is content. There are moments when the body is tranquil. There are moments when we are completely focused on whatever we're doing. There are moments of even equilibrium in our mind throughout the day. They might be very short, like 1 second or half a second long, but they're there. So all we're really doing when we get to this level is it's really the development of these innate states that the mind already has, right? So we're not trying to add anything. We're not bringing things in. We're just really watering the seeds of wholesome states that are according to later traditions, Buddha nature, right? They're intrinsic. That's the regular state of the mind. So sama samadhi is really about letting these seeds flower, letting the seeds of wholesome thoughts flower in the mind. And when the mind is completely blossomed into like a lotus that has risen on top of the water and is no longer touched by the contaminants of the water that was below it, we could call that sama samadhi, right? And that's when the wisdom becomes available to us. And it isn't until the flower has uh, penetrated the top layer of the water, risen above the water, that it can see clearly what's going on. Oh, look, there's the sun. Oh, look, there's the birds flying in the air. But as long as we're submerged under the hindrances or the unwholesome states of mind, it's difficult for us to get the wisdom because we can't discern, we can't see clearly. We're in a fog, we're in a haze. Um, it's very difficult to see. So, although we talked about the Eightfold Path, uh, there is a tenfold path actually. So once you practice these 8 factors and you completely develop them to its highest level, then there's 2 more factors that will come as a result in this tenfold path. Is knowledge. The next one is knowledge. So the 9th stage is knowledge, and the 10th one is liberation. So we're not practicing morality and studying the suttas and doing all the Buddhist practices, even meditation, for its own sake, right? It's not just to do it, or even to feel good, or even to be a moral person. Even to be a good person is not a good enough reason, at least for the Buddha. We're doing it for the purpose of liberation, to be free from all suffering, to be free from rebirth, re-existence. So that's something we have to remember, the difference between how Alan was saying yesterday about the secular mindfulness and Buddhist mindfulness, right? So the secular mindfulness is very much about, being relaxed or overcoming anxiety or kind of just dealing with everyday problems to have a, better quality of life. But in Buddhism, that's not really the point of it. Those are just things that come along the way, but we shouldn't get distracted or be satisfied for those small accomplishments. Actually, in Buddhism, uh, those would be seen as small accomplishments. The whole point of this whole path is to get the knowledge, and with the knowledge you get the liberation. So without knowledge there's no liberation, and knowledge here means experience, right? In Buddhism, knowledge is it's an experiential thing, it's a visceral thing. It's something that you know within all the Indian traditions, like the Vedas. Veda kind of means knowledge, but it means like a visceral knowledge, like that gut feeling, or I know it with my heart, that kind of knowledge. So I kind of just wanted, I'm telling you this because I wanted to, want you to understand the context of practicing the Eightfold Path. What's the purpose? The purpose is to end all suffering, to reach liberation. Liberation means to escape samsara, to stop the cycle of rebirth, re-existence. And the beautiful thing about this is that escaping samsara doesn't happen after you die. You can do it right now, you know. So you don't have to claim your prize after you die. And if you have to die to claim your prize, you don't know if you're going to get it or not. But the Buddha says no, you can reach this state of liberation in this very life, in the next moment, and you can still live. You can still have a body and attain the realization of nibbana, be free from suffering even without a body. So I think that's also a very important point that we need to kind of acknowledge. Let's see. Okay.
Hey, Bante, I want to add in really quick. I liked how you gave the example of the lotus flower too. So there's a reason like lotus flowers are so symbolic inside Buddhism. They grow in muddy water, and that's very much like samsara and like in what we're in right now, all this delusion. But you need that mud to grow. But like when that lotus flower goes above the water line and opens up, it's beautiful. That's awakening. That's enlightenment. So you need that, mud to kind of grow. Is very nourishing. So this experience that we're having in the human world, it's very rare. It's a rare existence. So it's difficult. It's absolutely difficult. But this is where we actually gain that experience, and that opportunity to become awakened and enlightened. So lotus flowers they're beautifully symbolic inside Buddhism, and I like that you gave that example.
Well, most of the things that I say, I'm just copying from whatever the Buddha said. So none of them are my original ideas. Okay, so now it's time for the meditation. So we're going to continue with our mindful practices. So this jhana or dhyana or samasamadhi is not a different kind of meditation. It's just a natural progression of the meditation we've already been doing. So although, we may not be there, or it's a very abstract thing for us, or we're not sure if it's a real thing, if there's a there, I invite you to continue your practice and just recognize when unwholesome states are not present in your mind. So when you're practicing your breathing meditation right now, every time there's no anger, no greediness, no confusion, notice it, take a note. Oh, look, the mind is free of unwholesome states. Even if for the next 5 minutes, maybe you only recognize 1 second of unwholesome states, you can recognize that 1 second in those 5 minutes that we were meditating was a state of samadhi, right? So you have it there. So now we just have to kind of water that little 1 second of samadhi and extend it longer. So I really want you to practice a form of introspection right now and really be aware of the content of your mind, of your experience. And instead of focusing on the critical part, focus on those moments where the mind is free, those moments when the mind is peaceful, and acknowledge them. Yes, it's there. Yes, it's possible. Yes, it's within me. So I'm going to ring the bell and we can practice our breathing meditation. So now that your mind is calm, body is relaxed, you can bless yourself with your calm mind. Also, by the power of this wholesome action, may you be free of immature company, and may you always have good companions until you realize nirvana. So remember to try to incorporate these teachings to whatever extent you can during the day. Uh, remember to bring up the five remembrances throughout the day. If you can, try to study some Buddhist books, either from the Buddha himself or from contemporary teachers. There's plenty of resources at the end of the planner that you can find, and some of them are free. So just, the more you cultivate this practice, the easier it'll be to maintain it. So in the beginning, we kind of just have to, requires more effort because we're starting from zero. Like if we were gonna start getting on a bicycle or pushing something in the beginning, it requires a little bit more effort. But once we get on, and it's easier to maintain. So as long as we stay on and we keep the momentum going, it's like the practice becomes easier and we get more skillful at it. So the real thing is to keep a constant practice in whichever way you can, chanting or doing offerings. But whatever your Buddhist practice is, just try to incorporate it more into your everyday activities and try to make it a daily practice. That's really the important part. So that's it for today, everyone. May you be well, happy, comfortable, and peaceful. Bye bye.